I'm Madeline Cronenberg.
And I'm Consuelo Lara.
And we are, once again, going to give tribute to the land that we are on. And we are on Chochenyo, Karkin, Ohlone native land. We open each episode by acknowledging that fact. We also want to talk about this week some of the news of the day. And the newest news is that Governor Newsom just gave his budget report just a couple of hours ago. And I took down notes from what he had to say because it was just all incredibly fascinating. In terms of how much he was offering, let's see if I've got it, how much he was offering all of us as members of the community. So there is money that he's got in the budget that will go to workplace development, a good deal of money to opportunity grants, and the opportunity grants would be for low-income minority schools in particular, schools that are struggling, and he did specifically talk about the achievement gap and some with issues that are in West Contra Costa and other districts. The achievement gap is particularly difficult for our African American children. So there's additional money that he's been able to put in for the achievement gap, to recognize the achievement gap. And he's calling them opportunity grants. He also has grants for teachers. He's going to put in additional money for teacher training, for teacher residencies. He's going to give additional $20,000 for teachers who teach in the schools that are difficult to recruit for. All of the things, many of the things we've talked about right here.
Yeah, exactly,
right here.
Exactly. Maybe he was watching.
Well, we hope you are, Governor Newsom. We hope you are, because you've read our minds and what we've said. Not only just our minds, but what we've actually said. So right on down the list, including setting up an apprenticeship council, a regional apprenticeship council, and a way he pointed out, because we've talked about CTE, he specifically pointed out how difficult it is and how much everyone struggles with making the connections between business and industry and schools.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
And he is giving some additional money to an organization in Fresno called Fresno Drive. And Fresno Drive is doing just that. They're also doing a great deal of economic development, but they're doing it with a coalition, a public-private coalition of business leaders. And he says, we're going to give them money this year. He's going to partner also with UC Merced and the local CSU. And if that model becomes the pilot, that's his higher education pilot, he's going to then replicate it in other parts of the state. And I'm not sure that he's talking about us. I think in those cases he's talking about the Central Coast and the North Coast and communities that have been sort of left out of other kinds of economic development.
Yeah.
But there are certainly things in there that we could use, that all of us could plug into in terms of opportunities and funding. Right? He is looking for people he certainly has a number of task forces. He's doing a lot of outreach. So I'm going to link to the entire YouTube, and he gave a very long talk. And I'll put both links in, one to the entire thing, but one that just features the education part.
Yeah. So this money, we have to apply for it to get access to it. Is that correct?
Yes. They're grants.
They're grants, and then we have to say, because it's not just like you're going to automatically get it. You've got to ask for it.
Right, and even with LCFF, he's putting more money there, but he wants you to apply for it. And say what you're going to do.
Okay.
Right?
And it would seem to me another call to action would be for our audience, parents, everybody, to look this over and then contact all of us to say, hey, this money's available. What are you guys going to do about it? So then it becomes full circle, and we can say to our staff, I'm hearing from our constituents, here's the new budget, our constituents wants to apply for XYZ, and here are their priorities. So that's a call to action, parents, to bring about real change And, you know, because coming to the school board meeting and screaming and yelling with your t-shirts only gets you so far. But this is real action. This can make real change for our lowest performing students, for our schools, for career technical education. This is what
All that.
parents want to be involved with. And so that's a call to action. That brings about real change in our district.
It's very
It's
exciting.
amazing.
It's very exciting. And I think that some
Exciting.
of this could also be Congresswoman, State Representative Shirley Weber had this one-time money for the lowest performing subgroup. And I think that there's going to be a way for that to be in here too. I mean, it certainly sounds to me like he's trying to recreate that.
Yeah.
Because he was
Yeah.
specifically talking about it.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to pursue that. And when we have the community members come, as I know they are this coming Wednesday,
Yeah.
that's a direction we can partner in and work together in.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And I really hope that that's where we go with it. And certainly, Mr. Thurman won't be surprised when we show up, because
That's
Mr.
right.
Thurman knows us very well. Right? So that's all the good news. You can certainly watch it. I commend it to your attention. Mr. Newsom is an extraordinary governor and leader, and we are so lucky to have him. All the work that went into to elect him. This is why elections count, right? This would not be happening if his opponents had been elected.
Yeah, and all of us on the board, we should all be familiar with all this. We need to know
Yes.
and study this and be aware of all of this. So I'm sure that Matt already, our superintendent, already probably knows about a lot of this. So yeah, we should be jumping on it for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow, that's great news. That is great.
Now, it is good news. And another piece of good news that came out this week that came to my attention, and I just wanted to sort of full circle. We spent all kinds of time talking about 1505 last year. And 1505 was an assembly bill by Mr. O'Donnell, Patrick O'Donnell, that the basic change was it allowed charter schools, the financial impact of charter schools to be counted in to whether or not you approve a petition to add them to your district. And one of the problems that we had talked about is that charter schools were driving districts bankrupt because you couldn't operate two systems. And that wasn't invisible to the financial industry and the financial rating service industry. And the financial rating service industry, and I had mentioned this once or twice, had done this had issued certain warnings. They did one in Massachusetts at one time when they were going to expand charters, and they've done them here, saying that if you do that, we're going to have to lower your financial ratings. And what the consequence of that is to taxpayers is that we're going to raise your interest. When you become more of a threat, what do? It's like redlining. We raise your interest. So California was becoming more of a threat. Once 1505 came in, Moody's said, oh no, now we're going to give you a stronger, more positive credit rating because you have eliminated that threat to your districts and to the charter schools as well. So I am fascinated by the fact that they did that, but they did.
So what 1505 did was it provided a protection for our budget. And with that protection then, just like a bank will say, okay, now you've shown that you can take care of your money and we'll raise your credit score or your
Exactly
That's
correct.
how that works.
Right. And before that, there was no protection. We were not protected, and we just had to go down the tube and approve everything, no matter what it was going to do to us financially.
Yeah. So that tells you right there, that's proof that charter schools have a detrimental effect
There it is.
financially to us, and it was recognized, and now with the protection, it changes things.
Right.
People need to understand that.
Right, right. And so this is like a third-party statement that is the
Exactly.
fact. In case anybody thought, oh no, it's just people who
Making
are.
it up. Yeah.
It's very it's a third-party endorsement to that.
Perfect. That's good.
So
to
that's
know.
the other piece of good news. I was want to talk about. We had some good news about Measure R last night.
Yes, measure are a couple of things. So the West County Democratic Club voted unanimously to, oh, I'm sorry, not unanimously, but voted to pass and endorse the endorsement for Measure R. And we are also working on our county Democratic
Right.
party to for endorsement as well. And then there was news about one of the unions, I believe, is also, I can't remember which one. But anyway, we are getting support and endorsement for Measure R. And also, we have been talking more about, the effects that it'll have and how the great need that we have for it. And there's a lot of negative press being put out, and I wonder, like, I just, these people that really put out all of this negative stuff, and they don't want us to have a bond, which means they don't want us to have better schools. And I'm just wondering, do they do that for other districts that are not predominantly children of color, that are not predominantly children of poverty, or is it just us? It just makes me wonder, why is that so? What else is going on here? What is the ulterior motive? But anyway, I'm always an optimist, and I think it will pass. And I think that our cities will get behind it, because our cities are very much love their schools, don't want to see them falling apart. And there's so much that needs to be done. Things like making them more accessible, ADA accessible, and upgrades. Things like plumbing, electrical, all these kinds of things that need to be upgraded, as well, of course, the schools that need to be replaced. And things that have changed in the last few years, like climate change, and also the demographics of our population. Some schools have gotten smaller, some are bursting at the seams. So because of that, one of the things that I'm hoping we do as a board is that we have a study session, and we reprioritize the list that we have that's 5 years old. And there's about 13 schools on there. Who knows what we may come up with, that may change. And also, most of them, I think 8, were in Richmond, so I'm counting on Richmond City Council 100% be there for us for Measure R. And yeah, so what I like about having a study session is then it gives us time to get from our constituents, what are your priorities, what do you want to see in terms of the facilities, and then we find out, we can make, with all of that information, and reprioritize how we're going to use that bond money for our facilities.
And we have something to work off of this time. When we did the facilities master plan 5 years ago, it had been much longer period of time since we had done master planning for the district, and we didn't, so we really had to start from scratch. Now we don't. I mean, in terms of the buildings themselves and all of the details around that, we've done all of that work. And we've also picked some criteria. So the question is, do we want to continue to apply that criteria, or do we want to add other criteria, or take some of it out? All of that's been done. So it's not going to take 18 months. The other project took much longer because we were starting from scratch. But one of the things about that is in another measure on our ballot is Prop 13, the 2020 Prop 13. And the 2020 Prop 13, which is on our March ballot, is the school construction bond. And one of the things in the school construction bond that actually Governor Newsom referred to was the fact that you have to have a facilities master plan to be eligible for the money. So we have it, and we have to have one, that's a 5-year plan. And so when we go through that makes so much sense, because they want you to have done an analysis of what you're going to do with the funds, right?
Right.
And so we're in very good shape in terms of all of that, and very good shape in terms of going ahead and doing the next steps in updating the facilities master plan. And the other thing about that particular measure is yesterday, it got endorsed by the California State League of Women Voters. So that just shows you it met their very strong criteria for being something that is really important to all of our children in the state.
So isn't it, it's matching funds, is that
Part of
correct?
it. I mean, there are many different parts to it, right? And there's so one of it is matching funds. Another one is for districts that never passed anything. There are others. There's another section, I think, for emergency funds. But certainly the part for us is matching funds, because we're already online for matching funds. And what happened is the well ran dry.
Mm-hmm. So if we didn't have this on the ballot, and if it didn't pass, we would not be eligible for that.
Well, we could be eligible, but there wouldn't be anything. We are eligible now. As I said, we're online now, but they ran out of money.
They ran out of money.
Okay. So that's why they put this on.
Yeah. So that's, very positive.
It's a very positive thing. And I'm real, and the governor was very excited about it when he was talking about it today. So look for, this is not your old Prop 13. This is Prop 13 and the March 30 ballot.
Yeah.
So those of us who are getting ballots in the district, basically what we're getting on our ballots are the presidential information that's determined by how you're registered, and so whatever party you're registered with, you get their presidential information. Then you're going to get Measure R from the district. You're going to get Prop 13 from the state, and you're going to get, what is it? I think it's Measure J. It's a J or L from the county, which is the transportation tax.
Okay.
So those are the only, and that's the only thing on there.
So that's it.
That's the whole ballot.
One last thing about the funding and the negative things that are out there about Measure R is people saying, well, you're in a deficit and you mismanage your funds, and so you're going to do that with Measure R money with the facilities. But those are two separate things. They're totally two separate pockets of money, and that the facilities, the bond money, that cannot be used for anything except facilities. And we have a very strong, very committed CBOC, which is a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, and they make sure every penny goes where it's supposed to go. We have so much documentation and so much accountability, transparency. I mean, when you were talking about having the documentation for the funds, we've got that. We've got it covered. So there will be no possibility of mismanagement of that bond fund because of the CBOC that we have in place right now. So
and honestly, our CBOC meetings are public.
Yep.
Anybody who is concerned in any way can attend any and all of their meetings and apply to be on the CBOC.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Right? So, I mean, that's always been available. And we've had a number of community members serve on the I served on it many years ago. Over the years, there have been many community members who've served on the CBOC. So, so we welcome.
Anything else about Measure R we want to?
I think that we'll be back with. We're going to talk about Measure R every week until we have a big successful passage of Measure R.
Yes.
And Prop 13. The one thing I wanted to talk about an upcoming event, and that's not this weekend, but the 19th and 20th is MLK weekend, and in El Cerrito, it's a particularly well celebrated event, and they have an event at the high school at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, where they're going to do they always show a film and then have a conversation after it. So they're going to have that on Sunday, and then on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, there's a parade, and the parade starts at El Cerrito City Hall and goes to the high school, El Cerrito High School, and then there's a program after that. So everyone is invited. I think it's an important thing for this venue to talk about and to call out, because it's one of the most important events in West Contra Costa during the year.
Absolutely. So I think, what else do we have?
Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, we've got two more take actions. I just want to point these two out, and then we'll close. Okay. The first one is an Assembly bill, or Senate bill, California Senate Bill 796 by Senator Connie Leyva. And what this does is change a rule that we have now that says that teachers who go on disability leave have to pay for their subs.
Oh, jeez.
It's a stunning fact that is the way that's in the Ed Code.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to change it. And Senator Leyva has written the bill to do it, and I'm going to send this to CTA. I think that this should be a major call to action. The reason it's been brought up is that there have been newspaper articles about teachers who are in chemotherapy not getting their paychecks because their sub salary is deducted from it.
No, we got to change that.
We have to change this. We have to change this.
Okay.
This is something that Governor Newsom can pay for.
For sure.
And all of the things that he's talking about. I mean, I really think that this should be something that is covered by the state. And it shouldn't be anybody. It shouldn't have to go contract by contract, district by district.
No, just do it blanket statewide.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's totally wrong. So anyway,
Very good.
that's the first one. And the second one is in Los Angeles last month. The LAUSD passed a resolution, and I'll put a link to this and a copy of their resolution into the YouTube. And the resolution was to have the district go to 100% clean, renewable energy.
That's powerful.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
And we certainly
we could do that.
can, yes. If LA can do it, we can certainly do that. And I think that it hasn't been done up here yet. I think that I don't know, some people are thinking that, the impetus for it has to come from an environmental group outside. That's not true. We can figure it out.
We can figure it out. We can bring that up.
We can be the leaders.
Yes.
There's no reason we can't do that, and LA has led the way by passing this last month. And LA is the second largest school district in the country.
That's something.
Right? And they have done it. So we need to take a look at this. So I'm hoping everybody will support it, and we'll figure out how it doesn't. It's not going to look identical to what LA. Well, the goal is identical. The process is a little different because our circumstances are different. And that's it for me.
Boy, I see a lot of work for us, huh?
Yeah.
It's like a lot of things that we're going to have to follow through with as well. So for us to do in our free time.
Exactly.
I want to close. We want to close with a thoughts about our teacher that passed away, and before the holidays. Her name was Lisa Dean Madigan, and she was a teacher at Terra Hills. Is this a good spot for me to hold it? Closer. And she was a second grade teacher, and it was at school where she had a heart attack. Very young, and she was very loved. She was at that school for many, many years. And I also taught with her at Helms for a few years. I remember that. Just a good all-around person and good teacher. She will be missed. The ceremony today was a celebration of her life, and it was very beautiful. It was packed. Everybody from her school, I'm sure, was there. And that's always an issue of getting substitutes for things like this. So that's something that's very important for us to be aware of. But I was very glad that I went to this, and it was just very moving ceremony, and she will be very, very missed, and she was a wonderful person. So I just wanted to mention Lisa.
Yes, thank you. I know
Yeah.
I met her a few times when I did tour the school over the years that I was on the board, so I remember her. I do remember her. And it's always a tragedy when someone is lost at such a young age. So we're going to close in memory of Miss Madigan.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.